Welcome to another part of the Thidrekssaga, presented by us, Sagenheim. And this old saga about Didrik of Bern is reaching into our present day back from pagan times. So hear now what these olden days have to tell us. Now Vidga spoke to the giant. I shall now cut off your head, or will you ransom yourself with something? The giant spoke. Good sir, don't kill me. I will ransom myself with more gold and silver than you have ever seen. Vidga spoke. Then you will lead me there. And the giant stood up, very battle-weary and bloody, and they went into the forest, where they found a great stone with an iron ring driven into it. And the giant said, "Take up this stone, there you will find the large amount of money." Vidga pulled with all his might, and the stone did not budge. Vidga said, "If you wish to keep your life, then take away that stone." And the giant took the stone, rather unwillingly, and moved it away with one hand. And under the stone there was a door, and the giant unlocked it, and there was an underground room there. The giant spoke, "Good man, take the money I told you about. The stone will no longer prevent you." And Vidga thought now that, if he were to go into the chamber, the giant would lock the door and put the stone over it, and he knew that he would then never be able to come out again. And so he spoke again to the giant. "Go now into the room and show me the money." And the giant climbed down into the room. Vidga raised his sword with both hands and struck at the giant's neck, so that the head flew off, and the giant died there. Vidga now took the giant's tongue and cut it out of the head, and spread the giant's blood all over him. And he went to his horse and made him all bloody. And he tied the giant's tongue to the horse's tail, because he wanted to have a token to prove that he was not lying. And he now leapt onto his horse, and rode as hard as he could back to his comrades. He held his sword up as high as he could, and shouted as loudly as he could, "Good friends, arise! The giant has given me my death blow, and the same awaits you if you do not run away as fast as you can." And when they heard Vidga's cry, they were all frightened and ran as quickly as they could, except for King Thidrek. He turned his horse toward Vidga and rode bravely, drawing his sword and calling out, "Good comrade, turn back and pursue him as hard as you can. And let the two of us remember that we have promised that we would never flee, even though death be certain before us. We will not be harmed if we two are together." When they met, Vidga told King Thidrek what had happened, and it seemed to the king that Vidga had again proven himself well, as was to be expected. And when King Gunnar and the other companions realized that it was only King Thidrek and Vidga who were standing near them, and there was no one coming after them who would do them harm, they realized that Vidga had tricked and ridiculed them. They returned to King Thidrek and Vidga, and were unhappy with his sortie. Vidga now spoke to King Thidrek and to all his companions. Good friends, I ask that you not take it amiss or bear malice toward me, that I did not tell you the truth. Because even though you have been tricked this time, I know there are many in this group who are no worse men and no less valiant than I am. I shall compensate you for what I did ill to you with many kinds of treasure and gold. And now they all answered almost at the same time. We forgive you this even more eagerly than you will accept. Let God will that we never again run into such shame. It was not your fault. We brought this one on ourselves. Then they all rode together and saw how far the rod the giant had thrown had gone into the ground. They saw the place where the spear had gone into the ground and was completely sunken. And next they went to the underground chamber where the giant had fallen, and they took vast amounts of money in gold and refined silver and all kinds of treasure. That was all the money that had belonged to King Isung, and also the money that Edgar had brought with him from Denmark. And King Thidrek spoke now. Comrade Vidga, it is my advice that we leave this large amount of money and take none of it with us, not a penny's worth. Now I wish to go and meet King Isung and fight with him. And if we gain the victory, then we can do with the money as we wish. But if we are defeated, it would displease me if it were said that we took the money but were defeated in our battle. And if it turns out that we part good friends, then we shall divide the money in friendship. And they came now into the forest and saw a mountain, and on top of it a castle, large and fair. And King Thidrek had his tents set up here on a fair meadow at the foot of the mountain, and they rested there. One day, when King Isung and his sons were sitting happily in their castle, young Sigurd came to them and spoke to the king. Lord Isung, I have seen something I think is no little news. I saw a tent erected on the meadow before your castle. That tent is made differently from any I have seen before. A pole stands in the middle of the tent. Uppermost on the pole is a gold knob. From the tent there hangs a red curtain, and there is also a pole with a gold knob there. Inside of that there is a third curtain of green and a third gold knob. And on the right side the tent is woven of gold, and a gold pole runs along it with a gold knob. On the left side the tent was colored white, and there is also a pole covered with gold up to the knob. I do not think any man has ever seen a more noble tent. And 13 shields hang before the tent. The outermost shield bears the markings of a horse and a bear. He had seen Hymir's shield. And the next shield bears the markings of a gold hawk and 2 birds flying before it. And it seems to me that it belongs to one of my kinsmen. And that was the shield of Earl Hornbogi. The third shield has a hawk in gold. And that was the shield of Amlung, his son. The fourth shield bears a hammer and tongs, and it is not a small shield. That was the shield of Vidga. The fifth shield is marked with a lion inlaid in gold, and that was the shield of King Thidrek, and that lion wears a crown on its head. The sixth shield has an eagle with a crown, and that was the shield of King Gunnar. And the seventh shield has the eagle, but no crown, and that was the shield of Högni. The eighth one is all painted as if it were gold or fire, and this he said about Herbrand's shield. Now there is the ninth shield, which is marked with a lion without a crown, and this was said about Fasold's shield. The 10th shield is marked with a dragon, and this was Sistram's shield. He had that mark because he had been saved from a dragon's mouth. And the 11th shield shows a castle that is painted after Bern, and that is Hildebrand's shield. He had Bern on his shield because he does not want to hide the fact that he is King Thidrek's vassal. And the 12th shield is marked with a boar, and this was the shield of Vildifair, and it was drawn because of his nature. And the 13th shield is still left. It has a man on an elephant on it, and this was the shield of Theoderic, because of Sigurd the old Greek, who rode an elephant before he fought with Theoderic. And because of this, I think that unknown warriors have come into our land. We do not know where they have come from, nor what they intend here. I now offer myself to the king to ride there and find out who these people are, who have such an impressive tent, and who have been so daring as to come into our land without your permission. And the king answered, I will send them a warrior to bring word to them that, if they wish to retain their lives, they will send me toll and tribute as the laws here require. That warrior will ask who they are, where they have come from, and where they were born, whence they plan to travel, and what they plan to do, and whether they will pay us tribute or give us homage. And Sigurd answered, The warrior you send shall be none other than I. The next episode of the Thidrekssaga will bring you the news about these negotiations that seem to be coming up, as well as news about the swift horse scamming, and especially about the son of Earl Hornbogi. So stay tuned for more, and thanks for tuning in, and see you again here next time, back at our place called Sagenheim.